Hi, my name is Julie Anderson, and this is Deepak Saini. Deepak, thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Hi, everyone out there.
Deepak is a health, performance, and longevity coach, and he's so generously offered to come on tonight and talk about 12 steps to survive this holiday food season. And he's also answering some questions that we got earlier. So, Deepak, it's all for you, man. Like, let's hit us with all your information because you're so amazing.
Sure. Is anything you want to start off with before I sort of get into the 12 points or?
No, I'm good. Whatever you feel.
Okay. Well, I think we all, obviously it's very timely for the season, and maybe for our American friends, maybe it's a little bit late since their Thanksgiving's already passed, the start of the holiday season for them. But yeah, very very timely, and questions I get all the time. Friends, family, even myself, I have to work on these things all the time. So yeah, we'll just jump right in. So I guess number one, or step number one, or what have you, is just be mindful and eat with intention. So it's you're going to be going to situations that are wherever you are in your health journey, whether you've made big improvements and you've really made a drastic shift to where you were, or you're somewhere in the process, or maybe you haven't even thought about it yet, but this time of year is a problem for you, etc. So I think just be mindful and have good intention. So okay, you're going to go to your mother's house, your mother-in-law's house, whatever it may be, and just be mindful that like, okay, I'm going to be there. There might not be the greatest choices. There might be my trigger foods, or what have you. But if you have that, the intention is like, okay, I'm going to stick to one, or this day is not going to define me. This is not going to blow my whole 2020 plans out of the water because of something you did on the 25th or the 26th or of December. And will end with anything, as I would say to anybody, whether they're my clients of mine or not. If you have a transgression day, or a bad day, or eating some food that doesn't serve you, what, chalk it up, move on. Tomorrow's another day. So I think just as long as you have that mindfulness of what you're eating, and prepare yourself, and not beat yourself up over it, then I think that's that's key. That's sort of step number one. I'd like to say that I coined this, but I'm stealing this from somebody else. It's not what happens between Thanksgiving and New Year's that makes it or breaks it. It's what happens from New Year's to the Thanksgiving. So basically, it's your whole year you need to worry about, not this like 1 or 2 week period, or 3-week period, what have you. It's the the whole year. So
that's awesome.
Keep it in mindset. And I'm just gonna, with all this talking, I'm gonna have a little bit of my my mushroom tea here. So
okay, that's okay.
A few sips in between here and there. So
that's good. You had sent me some notes over, and I was like so surprised where you said the average Canadian and American gains between 2 and 5 pounds during the season. And it's like, It's real weight gain. Like, you're like, it's not just water retention. This is legit weight gain.
Exactly. So, if you think about it, it could quite easily, with inflammation and what have you, and I've certainly wrote about this on posts on my website, what have you, you can gain weight like pretty quickly, and then when sort of revert back, get the inflammation down, sort of get back into it, you can lose a lot of that weight pretty quickly if you're smart about it. But yeah, 2 to 5 pounds for the average. So obviously some people are gaining none, some people are gaining way more. And as you said, this is real weight that you're carrying into January onwards. And if you don't make any changes, and he's like, oh, what's 2 pounds? And then next year is another 2 pounds. The next year, and pretty soon you're like, what happened to me? I'm, 20 pounds over this old age, or what have you, type of thing. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So
yeah, that's good. It's really fascinating. I love what you said about it's not what you do like in these like between now and New Year's. It's from like New Year's to Thanksgiving. Like, that's so good.
Right. It's it's the 80-90% of your year. Even if you totally blow it out of the water and you put on the 10 pounds, if you have the right strategies for the rest of the year, like you'll probably recover. So again, sort of get back to that mindset and intention. Don't beat yourself up if there's transgressions in this holiday season. So
awesome.
So that number one. So number two, one of the biggest strategies that I use myself is bring your own dish. If you've already made some changes in your life, and you know that I'm not good with, just examples, I'm not good with dairy or gluten, whether you're celiac or not, or whatever the trigger may be, and you're like, oh, that's always there, or that's what our family or our friends will, that's always, that dish is always there. Bring your own. At the very least, there's one thing you can eat, the thing that you
Right.
brought, and if you have, veggies, there's always veggies and that sort of thing. So load up your plate, half of, veggies, and eat the thing that you brought that is going to serve your needs. So that's, kind of a big thing. And then you don't have to, your plate's, full or half full. No one's going to bug you about, oh, you're not eating anything or what have you, and then you can legitimately say, like, oh, I'm full, even if you ate half of your own dish, right? At least it's something that you want to eat that's going to serve your needs.
That's a really good tip. That's a really good point, because you could fill up that plate and they can't argue when your plate still has food on it,
Exactly.
You're getting that pressure.
So, perfect example. I'll give a real life example. So I was at a potluck yesterday, actually. So I brought, meat and cheese, some high quality salami, some prosciutto, and some cheese and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of other stuff. And there's some options of things like, okay, I'm going to eat. And of course, with that mindset, with that intention, I chose like, okay, I'm going to try so-and-so's dish because they were talking it up, and, it's not too bad. It's not too far off what I normally do. So, try things, but I didn't try everything, and then I ate a lot of my own stuff, just, that I brought, just so I didn't have to lug it all back home, but two, so I know it's food that I normally eat. It's food that's going to serve me. So it kind of ties into point number 3, which is, eat your favorite foods within reason. So, if you're like, oh, I only get, Aunt Betty's pie, at Christmas time, or whatever the occasion might be, or my cousin always makes their famous whatever, and oh, it's so good. It's like, okay, but have a spoonful, have a small sliver. You're still having what you want to have. You don't have to go crazy about it. You don't have to, Aunt Betty might want you to eat half the pie, but, take a small sliver. You're still, acknowledging their effort and what they created, and bring back, maybe there's memories that come along. A lot of our memories are associated with food. You can still have that, still enjoy it, still have, a taste of it, but not go all crazy and pick your battles. What are your favorite foods? You don't have to have everything. If you're at a buffet or a potluck, company potluck, or friend potluck, or whatever, you do not have to have everything. If you have a full plate and you're no, like you said earlier, Julie, no one's going to argue with you, and you're like, oh, have some of this and throw stuff on top of the full plate, as long as it's food that is going to serve you, or maybe, maybe not serve you, but again, just like minimize the damage and enjoy that little transgression.
I think that's really cool, because it's almost like just setting an intention before you go in there. And it's something that's so easy that anybody can do, because it's sort of like, you're like blundering in to this big buffet or Christmas party or family event, and there's all this food, and you're like, oh no. And it's just like, it's like reactive mode. But just by, like you're thinking, well, okay, I'm just going to be mindful. I'm just going to eat what do I really like? Just having that can help someone navigate all the different foods and like the quantities as well. Just having that idea, well, I don't need to have half of Aunt Betty's pie, right?
Yeah. So, kind of to your point, and maybe it's kind of tied in with sort of point number 4 is also, watch your portion sizes. We have this tendency, like, again, you don't have to try everything, even having the tiniest little bit if you're at a huge potluck or something, just the tiniest little bit of everything is going to be like 3 plates worth.
Right.
Like if you go to if you go to like Chinese buffet or whatever type of buffet, and it's like, well, I'll just have a little of this, but they're like, they only advertise, we have 100 different dishes. It's like, well, if you're gonna have 100 of like, a couple spoonfuls, it's adds up to a lot. So, start with a smaller plate, like grab the dessert plate, like, oh, you grab the dessert plate. It's like, oh, I didn't even realize, not that it's all about calories or anything like that, but you're a little bit more mindful if you have a smaller plate, and you have to actually go up again to replenish, right? It's a bit of a psychological, like, oh, okay, well, I'll really just take the things I really want to have. And then I guess tying back to your last point, Julie, you go someplace and there's like, I swear, I keep going back to potlucks. Maybe it's because it's fresh in my mind, but half or a third of the people sign up for dessert whenever there's like a potluck thing. So you have like 5 main dishes, some like appetizers, some veggies, some fruit, and then there's like 30 desserts.
So true.
It's like, okay, if you have that mindset, have that intention. I'm gonna, I've been good. I've been on track. I've been, doing my my exercise, and I've been drinking my water. Whatever it is, whatever's your plan, whatever you're working on, wherever you're on in your journey. It's like, okay, I'm going to have something. It's like, okay, great. You don't have to have one of every 30 pieces of dessert, right? Have the one thing, right? Like a lot of times it's like, as an example, like I really, even back in the day when I was heavy and overweight and all that sort of thing, I never really liked chocolate chip cookies. I'd rather have like an oatmeal raisin. So it's like, okay, so just use me as an example. So you go there, and it's like, oh, there's a bunch of Christmas baking, and I hate sprinkles too. So it's like somebody does like the shortbread with sprinkles on it, like, why would I do that? Like, I'm just not going to have that, and there's this, and I hate, so if it's not something you truly enjoy or like it's a must, then why bother? And if there is that one thing that like, oh, I don't know, whatever, like say butter tarts. Oh, somebody made their homemade butter tart. Oh, it's my mom's recipe passed down for the, whatever type of scenario. It's like, you really got to try. It's like, oh, I actually do love butter tarts.
Mm-hmm.
Then have a butter tart, but you don't have to have the 30 other cookies, especially if they're just like off the shelf store bought with, right? It's like, who cares? You can go buy that yourself if you want it. Like, have some reason, have some purpose. But obviously these are all these points sort of blending together.
Yeah.
It kind of goes back to intention, but have some purpose and have just the thing that that you really want, and then that by nature will kind of default to portion size. When you don't need to have 5 plates of dessert. Have
right.
one or 2 things.
Right. I'm writing some notes down here.
Yeah, and then I guess very very closely tied to that too is you don't have to go back for seconds. If you even if regardless of the plate size that's at the event, even if they're big giant plates, like, okay, you fill up, but you don't quite get everything, but you're like full, or you're almost full. It's like, well, I didn't try Bob's chicken or the macaroni salad or whatever. I didn't get to it. I didn't have room. It's like, well, do you really want it? Like, well, you don't have to go back. Right. I kind of what I do for myself as a strategy in those type of situations is like, take, what I know I for sure want. Mm-hmm. And then if I'm still hungry, it's like, okay, do I want to try something else? Or like, that one thing of the 5 little things I took before, that one was really good. I'm going to have another one of that, assuming there is some left, and just not worry about the other things. Mm-hmm. So, you don't have to go for seconds. If you want to, if you're truly hungry, sure, go for it. But again, maybe choose things that, that are gonna serve you. And there's always usually at least a veggie platter at almost anything, or a salad or something like that. Fill up half your plate or quarter your plate. If there's like 100 choices, you're maybe not going to do half your plate of just salad or veggies, but make sure you have some of that healthy food on your plate as well. So and then I guess listen to your body. Going on to sort of point number 6, listen to your body. If you're sitting there and you're starting to get bloated feeling or gas or something, that's your body telling you a signal. There's something you ate is affecting you. It's causing inflammation, it's causing a reaction. That doesn't mean that you have to necessarily stop eating right then, but maybe be mindful of that. If you're sitting there and all of a sudden like, geez, my ring feels so tight, or my pants or whatever, like your body's, listen to your body, or a lot of times too, when you're like that food craving that you have, oh, I want to try that, it's like, or if you're craving, it could be sugar or salt, like, oh, I want another, salami or I want another cookie. Sometimes it's just, especially with salt, sometimes just, your body's out of balance. You actually just need water. You're actually just thirsty,
Wow.
and you can just, quench
Wow.
that feeling that you need that. And sometimes those foods too are either just really salty and what have you. So just instead of kind of keeping that loop going, just have some water. And I think we have some questions later on alcohol and stuff. So we will talk about the choices later. But just listen to your body. A lot of time you just need more water. So yeah, I'll maybe just move on to the next point. Don't skip meals. So I'm very adept at fasting.
Mm-hmm.
I have done 24-hour fast before. My daily is usually 14 to 16 hours, kind of every day, type of thing. So for me, fasting and then going into an event like that, I'm not gonna go crazy and I'll eat the normal amount of food that I would normally eat anyway. So to just take a step back. So when I fast, I still eat the same amount of calories. It's all kind of in a short, condensed eating window.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to an event or something, then I fasted all day, and that one event will be my first meal. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm still going to have my same, that I normally would eat otherwise. Now, if you're not adept at fasting and this is not a practice that you normally do, thinking that you're going to skip a meal and it's like, oh, like I'm going to have lower calories today. I know I'm going to have some bad stuff, so I'm going to skip my meal now. That doesn't work. It's going to backfire. You're going to be so starving. Your hunger hormones are going to be going crazy. You're going to be, you're driving yourself nuts while you're like waiting for that event to come, and then you're going to overeat. You're going to do more than you would have otherwise. That's almost kind of, counteracting our point number one of the intention. You think you have a good intention of like, oh, I know I'm gonna have some bad stuff later, or maybe eat more than I normally would, so I'm gonna have less. I'm gonna skip breakfast, or I'm gonna skip breakfast and lunch if it's a dinner or something like that. And then in the end, your hormones will be so out of whack that you're gonna overdo it, and then you'll feel like terrible the next day. So if you're not used to fasting now, I would say just go about your regular day, have a healthy meals before you go to an event, and then so all the other strategies we've already talked about that we will be talking about. I guess also sort of in part of some of our earlier points is if you really don't know what you're going to get yourself into, or that pressure you feel, so you don't actually eat before you go, like not necessarily 3-course meal before you go to somewhere, because you're going to get you want to have something, or there might be some pressure to try this, that. But if you have salad or veggies or an apple or whatever your kind of works for you from a perspective that serves your health needs, you have something right before you go, when you get there, you're going to not be super, you're not going to be starving. You might be hungry, and maybe the smells and the aromas and the emotional response to the food is like, that those memories, you might have something, but you're going to you will be full faster because you ate before, and then you'll probably make better choices, and you'll really be, okay, I'm only going to have this, or what have you, that type of thing. So that kind of goes along with it. I guess moving on to point number 8 is, I guess if you're the host, and again, if you're the host, a lot of these things you can mitigate yourself ahead of time, have healthier choices, and that sort of thing. And when you're the host, you're kind of busy, and you can almost sort of escape people trying to load you up, or, oh, did you try my whatever I brought? And you're like, you can, oh yeah, or like, well, I'll have some. It's a little bit easier sometimes when you're the host, but when you're not the host, certainly if again, if you bring a healthy dish and there's a lot of leftovers, take your healthy dish home, but don't start taking other people's food, right? A lot of people, like, there are a couple of things. Either they made something and they actually don't want it in their own home, which kind of questions, why did you make that anyway? Or the host themselves, everyone just wants to leave for the host, as a thank you, like, oh, we can have this for leftovers. He was like, but the host doesn't want it either. That's too much, or it's food that maybe they don't even want to eat. So then you try like, oh, here, take some of these things. You don't take leftovers. If the host insists on you taking what you brought back, sure, but don't take somebody else's this, that, and the other thing. Again, it's a intention. I'm going to this event. It's the one, main thing. It's our main family event or what have you. I'm going to have, a couple things that I know maybe aren't going to serve my needs, but it's a one-time thing. But don't prolong that by taking, that other 3/4 of Aunt Betty's pie, and then you're having pie for the next week every day. It's like you're just keep going and keep going. If there's something that's a trigger for you, whether it be sugar, gluten, dairy, whatever the case might be for you, yeah, it can really, processed oils, what have you, everyone's individual, but it can potentially affect you for a day or two later. So if you're just having that same, I keep harping on the pie, it's just an example.
Poor Aunt Betty.
Yeah, or Aunt Betty. If you keep going and have that same piece of pie, it's like, on Christmas Day, and then Boxing Day, and then 27th, 28th, and then on New Year, and then you're finally done. It's like you've just inflamed yourself, caused triggers for yourself for a whole week straight. So why do that to yourself, right? You're gonna have it that one day, great, move on, get back into it. And at this time of year, it usually is 2 or 3 events. Maybe there's a pre-Christmas thing, Christmas Day. Maybe nothing in between, and then a new year. So most people have at least 2 or 3 events in this season. So, have your thing, recover. Next thing, again, intention, have that other, whatever it may be, couple days break. But if you're just going all the way for that 2 weeks, it's going to be, again, like I said earlier, it's more from New Year's to Thanksgiving, not Thanksgiving to New Year's, but still, why take all the hits for a whole week or 10 days straight, at least stagger it. So don't take any leftovers home. Sorry, did you want to jump in there, Julie?
No, that's good. I was just glancing down at my notes. I've got some good notes. This is
okay.
So
awesome. Yeah. So then next point number 9 is, whether you have, a set fitness regime right now, whether it's walking or yoga, or you do strength training, or some combination or what have you, and usually depending where you live, but at least this time of year, it's for most places it's getting cooler, or if not downright cold, like where I live. Stay moving, stay active, keep doing your regular things, and maybe even do a little bit extra. So you're like, okay, again, it's not about calories in, calories out, but just stay active, because just being the amount of just movement and blood flow and all that is just so much helpful for digestion and all that. So if you're gonna have again, it depends on time of day. If you're at a dinner party and you're out till really late, well, you're probably not going to go for a walk afterwards. But if it's something in the afternoon, or maybe some people do presents and brunch, and then they have a bit of a gap, and then they do their big turkey dinner that same day. It's like, okay, and that in between, go outside, take the kids tobogganing, go for a walk, whatever maybe. It's just stay active. Even if you don't do anything extra, do at least what you're doing now. Don't let it go away. It's like, oh, it's the holiday season, I'm going to take a 2-week break from what you're already normally doing. And maybe you go to a gym, and maybe it's it's right by where you're working, and obviously you're not going into the office for most people during the holiday season. So okay, I'm not going to go to the gym because it's not convenient. That's fine. Shovel the snow, go tobogganing, go for a walk, what have you, play with the kids, take the dog for a little bit of an extra walk, what have you. So just, keep active. That's part of it. Don't just shut it down because it's holiday season. I'm just going to let it all go to hell in the handbasket. No, that's the wrong attitude, right?
That's awesome. I think that's really a cool strategy for people to use, where they can it's okay just to go for a walk, because it can be like, a lot of people might be traveling, going to see their family, and it's just like, they're tired and they're recovering from their work, and then they're eating all this crap, and then they're like, there's no way. But it's like just go for a walk, just shovel, just be active, just do something,
Yeah, for sure. And having again, it depends on time of day and convenience and what have you, but having a big meal but going for a walk right after helps blunt the insulin response. You're not going to get quite the hit right away if you have a little bit of exercise immediately after. Obviously, you have this big, huge meal. Like, don't go for a sprint, and like you'll be puking otherwise. But like be reasonable. Nice, just gentle walk, just to keep blood flow moving and that sort of thing. Right. So point number 10, stay hydrated. Water, super important. I kind of touched on it earlier. So have a big glass of water like before you even head out. And then as soon as you get somewhere, probably this time of year, there's probably alcohol. I'm going to assume, not everybody drinks, obviously, but assuming you do drink, you'll probably partake. Myself, I rarely drink, but this is the time of year where I'll probably have, one or two, on a couple occasions. Certainly probably on New Year's I'll have a couple scotches. But have a water before you go. Have a big glass of water before you get there. It also helps satisfy you, fills you up, so you're going to eat less. But also for any alcohol, right? Help dilute it. And then at least 1 for 1 for every alcoholic drink, have a glass of water in between, if not 2 to 1. But you might be going pee a lot, but hey, you're flushing those toxins out. You're flushing the alcohol out. Helping.
Cool. That's a really cool.
So tip. At very least 1 for 1 is what I would say. So what I typically do, again, for all those purists out there who are going to like scream at me, I drink scotch, but I put it on the rocks, but I actually drink scotch and water. So I know the purists are going to be like, hey, you're wrecking your scotch. But so part of that is, one, I'm getting a whole glass of water at the same time I'm having my scotch. Then I'll have a glass of water, and then I'll have maybe a second scotch filled with water. So I'm kind of sort of trying to keep to that 2 to 1 is basically kind of
there's strategy there. That's impressive.
How I manage it. So
very good.
Yeah. So stay hydrated is super important. It'll not only help, again, and there's other strategies we won't get into today, but certainly help also with any hangover effects or anything like that if you're hydrated. Plus also, we get when we've eaten too much, our body goes to work digesting right away. So sometimes people might, the night sweats after you've had a big meal, or some people meat sweats. So just keep drinking water. Help cool yourself. If you've had a lot of salty or sugary meals, again, help with that sort of dilution of your chemical levels and that sort of thing. So stay hydrated, very, very important. So one that I never really I kind of came across this one, and I've added it to my list recently. I never really thought about it in this way, but once I kind of read, I was like, oh, I actually practice this myself. Just inadvertently, I've always practiced this. So this point's called point number 7: dress for success. So basically, what this means is you're going to a party. For women, you wear your nice holiday dress or your little black dress or what have you. Guys, you're maybe it's formal. You're wearing your suit and shirt and tie, or at least a dress shirt, that sort of thing. But basically, the point being is like, wear your normal clothes. Don't wear your baggy, stretchy jogging pants, Lululemons, because as you're eating, I'm serious.
Well played, sir. Well played.
If you're wearing your jogging pants or your Lululemons, as you're getting inflamed, as you're getting bloated, your pants or whatever is going to either be giving or is going to stretch with you. If you're wearing your top notch, your fancy pants clothes, and you start to get that, you're going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to be an actual signal to you, like, hey, we gotta dial this down. I need to take a break at least. Maybe I'll circle back and have some. Most of these type of things, the dessert is left out for hours, right? So okay, maybe you come back later, but like take a break. You don't, you're going to be somewhere for 5-6 hours. Maybe on New Year's it's like a long time. Like you don't have to go hog wild right away and then keep pounding the alcohol and then want to have more food later. Eat your meal or the main course and save dessert for later. It's not going anywhere, right? That type of thing. But if you have those tight clothes, you might think twice. It's like, oh, I actually feel uncomfortable because the inflammation and the bloating has come on. But if you were just wearing your whatever, you're like, you don't even feel that. You're just like, hey, I feel comfortable. So a little kind of tip. Again, that's something I just inherently practice, but I never really thought of it that way. And then I sort of came across it and I was like, yeah, that's actually a pretty decent strategy. So
that's an excellent tip. That's absolutely awesome. That's genius. Yeah.
And Thank you. And then our last point, or point number 12, and then we'll obviously get some questions and that sort of thing, is don't wait till January to start your resolution or your goals, or I'll start this Jan 1, or well, I know Jan 1 I'll be hungover, so I'll start this Jan 2nd, or what have you. It's like, no, start now. And if not now, tomorrow. Like, don't put it way off, right? It's right now. And I say this with people that I coach or that I teach in some of the seminars that I teach, et cetera. It's like, at the end of whatever, I was like, write down something you're going to change from whatever the message I was giving. Write down what you're going to change and put a date beside it. So if you're like, commit to yourself and whatever it may be, but commit to your health. So, maybe it's the 25th and you were at grandma's house and you didn't follow any of these tips. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I know New Year's is coming, so I'll start on the first. No, start on the 26th, start on the 27th. And if you have a transgression or you don't fall on New Year's Eve, then restart again. Just always restart, get right back on. Don't put things way off in the future. Because like here's an example. This is not what I practice, but here's an example of dates in my life. So I live in Canada, so our Thanksgiving is earlier, right? So I theoretically be like, oh, it's Thanksgiving, is whatever. It's like, oh, well, Christmas is just around the corner. Okay, it's like over a month away, month and a half. And then Christmas comes, and it's like, oh, then there's New Year's. Okay, and then I have a birthday in January. So my birthday's coming up here pretty soon. It's like, well, I'll wait till after my birthday. And then in our case, it's like, oh, our wedding anniversary is a little bit after my birthday. Well, I'll wait till after our anniversary. Next thing you know, it's like half the year's gone before you find the right time. So just start today. Start tomorrow, right? Don't wait for that next thing. So again, it kind of goes back to the mindset, the intention. That was point number 1. So yeah, so those are the sort of the 12 tips. Again, easier if you're the host to control things, but most of us are not the host and we're going somewhere, family, friends, work functions, whatever. Just use some of these little things and you can survive. You can stay on either the no gain or stay in the low end. You gain 2 pounds, but it's going to be gone pretty fast, that inflammation, and you'll work all that extra sugar or whatever it may be out of your system, and keep moving, keep active, keep blood flow, and you'll be right back in no time. So.
Right on. These were so many good tips. That one, that last one, just where you're like, it's better to just restart. You have a transgression and you restart, and then you have a transgression and you restart again, as opposed to putting the date far off and then just it never actually happens. It's better to actually start and restart, because at least you're taking action, eh?
Yeah, Julie, to be quite honest, I see it with people that I work with or people that, reach out to me and then we end up maybe not working together or what have you. But let's be honest with with ourselves, and not even ourselves, but our family members and even just society at large. How many people are putting something off, and it's been 20 years.
Yeah.
They put it off for X time, 20 years, and maybe they'll try something, not the right strategy that works for them for a week or two, and then they go back to their old habit. That's another story, but there's too many people who put things off for so long, and then there's hey, what happened to me 20 years ago? I used to be.
And it's 20 years, and it's literally 20 years, and they're like, oh my gosh, what's happened to my body? What's happened to my health? Yeah. Exactly.
So, obviously I'm kind of on the forefront. I see it all the time, unfortunately. So.
Right on. All right. Are you ready to answer some questions?
Yeah. I think we have some questions, right, that came in earlier. So.
Yes. And I know you've got a question, but I know I've got a couple of questions from people. So, can I give you the first question?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, this is from Karen Peterson Goldman, and she asked, Italian syndrome, also known as how to avoid being forced to eat by well-meaning sadists when you're quite full.
Okay. So yeah, I think, she put in her comment, Italian syndrome, and I certainly have a lot of Italian friends, whatever, so I kind of know what that is. But really, we could substitute that for any ethnic group, or actually, it doesn't matter, right? East Indian syndrome, or Ukrainian syndrome, or what have you. It's pretty much across the board. So a couple things. So I think of some of these strategies, would certainly, help fill your plate with healthy things, bring that healthy thing. But, I'm going to assume, sorry, it was Karen, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Karen, I'm going to assume you're an adult. You are in charge of your own life. Let's be honest here, right? I get it. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. You don't want to hurt, grandma, nana, whatever, the terminology might be. You don't want to hurt anyone's feelings and that sort of thing. But really, you are in charge of your own health. Only you are in charge of your own health and your own life. So at some point you have to be like, no, Nana, I'm full. I've had this already, or what have you. You have to just, at some point make a stand for yourself. I know that can be difficult sometimes, the holidays and getting to family, and there's a lot of emotional issues and maybe some baggage. And I'm not suggesting that's here with Karen, but sometimes we have that kind of stuff. We have to take charge. But use some of those strategies. Maybe like that. I don't know, something like mashed potatoes or something kind of mushy. You have one bite, kind of swirl around and mish it around and make it look like you kind of picked at everything when actually you didn't really eat anything of it.
That's a good strategy.
That sort of thing. Or like a pie, you have like a bite, like, yummy, thank you, grandma. And then you kind of like mush it up and whatever. And then, or, you can just, depending on the situation, is it a formal sit down where like, all 30 people around a big table, or is it kind of a cocktail you're moving around, like just sort of move around and generally into the garbage, or, that sort of thing. So I'm not trying to suggest like start conflict with family members or what have you, but really you're in charge of your own health, and say, no, I'm making a different choice today. Obviously, Karen, I don't know you, but it's like, oh, I've made this choice, or I've made these changes, or I'm committed to changes going forward, or what have you, and just let people know. I know you're going to have the naysayers, you're going to have people who are not going to understand or what have you, and quite often, most people are understanding in what I've found, and those that maybe aren't or challenge you are actually it's actually a reflection on them. If Aunt, I'll just pick on Aunt Betty again, who's maybe has is not in the greatest health, maybe is overweight, and she's really harping on you. It's really a reflection on her. She's sad. She's not happy with herself internally. So to make herself feel better, and it's not intentional, it's totally subconscious, she wants to feed other people so that she feels like better about herself. Not that she's trying to make other people unhealthy. That it's not that at all. It's that she's trying to be a provider and give and provide love, because that's what is actually helping her cope with her own issues. So sometimes there's some of that as well, but for the most part, people are pretty understanding. Like, no, I'm decided to make some changes, as especially if somebody has made changes already and has seen a lot of progress, and maybe depending the situation, maybe you haven't seen your family since last holiday season or for 6 months and that sort of thing. It's like, oh, you're getting so skinny, you're all skin and bones, you're like, oh, eat something already. We've all heard that before, right? And he's like, look, no, this is working for me. I'm really good. I've made these changes, and I'm glad to be here with all of you. But again, have that intention. Like, I'm going to have that one thing, my mom's X or grandma's X. I will have a little piece of that, but I'm not going to eat all that other stuff. There's Uncle Bob's macaroni salad. I never liked it then. Why would I eat it now when I'm trying to help? Right? Like, don't feel out of obligation, right? Like, right. You are in charge of yourself. So, Julie, do you think I answered Karen's question there? Or?
I did. That's amazing. Thank you, Deepak. That's so good. Thank you. She's going to be thrilled with this. I'm going to be going back and like commenting, and she's going to love to see this. I have another question for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, this is from Heather Davis. This is so good. I feel like I've slowly become addicted to sugar. My cravings are getting worse, and I'm developing some bad habits. I can't seem to get the willpower or right mindset to eliminate sugar.
Okay, there's a lot there. So if you think, okay, first of all, pretty much everyone's addicted to sugar. We were conditioned that when we were born. If you think about it, not everybody was, but many people were breastfed. So perfect combination of sugar and fat that we get from our mother's milk. It helps us grow, right? That's the most important, the best food for newborns to help them grow for the first, X period of months to year or 2 years, whatever, when they're born. So we're already triggered right from to be addicted to sugar. If you're thinking, I think I'm becoming addicted to sugar, no, you already are. We all are, right? It's the same, receptors in our brain, whether it's heroin, cocaine, sugar, it all hits the same neurotransmitter. So Heather, you are. I'm saying.
We all are.
We
Join
all,
the club.
we are all, right? Let's put that aside. So now how do we mitigate that? So it's lifestyle choices. It's making healthier choices. What was the second part? I know it was a bit of a longer question.
Yeah, no, it's good. So my cravings are getting worse and I'm developing some bad habits. I can't seem to get the willpower or right mindset to eliminate sugar.
So there are a couple of things there. So first of all, it's not about willpower. It's definitely about mindset, right? So not trying to plug my coaching services here by any means, but that's like the first thing I work on with people is mindset. Like, why do you want to become healthy? Why is now the time for you? And sometimes people think it is, but it's actually, they're not actually ready yet. They haven't fixed it up here yet to make those choices. So it is all about mindset. It's all about lifestyle and strategies. Jesus, sorry. I'm sorry. That was a really long question. There was that
No,
middle
that's okay.
part. I should have wrote it down.
Yeah, I'm going to say that. So I'm just going to say the second sentence that my cravings are getting worse and I'm developing some bad habits.
Right.
Yeah.
So the cravings part. So typically when we have cravings, it's because our body is needing something. So, if somebody has, really craving salty things, it doesn't have to be chips from, it could even be just like cheese. There's a lot of salt in cheese. It's probably because, there's some imbalance with some of the chemicals in their body. So if she's craving sugar, at a high level here, this is not medical advice, and I don't know Heather here, I would suggest there's probably something that in her supplementation or dietary that is missing. That's what she believes is sugar. It's triggering, and she's feeling it's sugar, and she's manifesting into a sugar craving. It could be something else, that if something else was met from a supplementation or a nutritional perspective, then that might correct itself. But in general, carbohydrates, sugar, it's really lifestyle, and it's making small incremental changes. And I won't get into what that means on this call here. But if you try and go just cold turkey with sugar, like it's not going to work. That's why so many people, and I'm kind of getting a bit off on a tangent here, but that's why so many people find that like keto or low carb doesn't work for them. Because when you go from like way over here to trying to go over here with like cold turkey, this huge divergence, it's not going to work. It's too distant. You need to you sort of make some small steps in between and work your way to, and not, it doesn't have to be low carb or what have you. Just like in making healthier choices, you got to do it in little incremental steps that change your palate and that sort of thing. Within 2 weeks, all your taste buds change over. So you need to make these slow changes, and then.
I didn't know that. 2 weeks taste bud change. That's
probably it's a little bit everyone a little bit different, but it's approximately 2 weeks for everybody. So like I say this all the time. Like if I just eat an apple now, I find an apple like so sweet.
Yeah.
It is so sweet because my taste buds have totally changed. And if I have something, like where somebody gives me something, or I'm not expecting what it actually is, I was like, oh, holy moly, like it's just too sweet for me. Like I pucker almost. So anyway, to answer Heather's question, it is slow progression.
Okay.
For sure, it makes some slight modifications, and that's really what it is lifestyle changes, lifestyle modifications to the point. And I don't know, there's not more context to Heather's question here, but if you always ate this, and it's like, and I am just craving it more and more and more, and I used to only eat one chocolate bar, now I have to have like 5 a day. It's like, okay, well, there's probably something chemical nutritional wise going on, but okay, well, how about instead of that chocolate bar, we go with some nuts, or I'm just kind of off the top of my head, whatever type of thing. And then slowly, it's like, okay, well, how about some like dark chocolate with some nuts. And then it's like, okay, now we go to just nuts, and then slowly to the point it's like, oh, I can't believe I used to eat that stuff.
Right.
after a while. Or then when you do have it on occasion, it's like, oh yeah, this is either this is so sweet, like me and the apple, or
Mhm.
it makes you feel so crappy. You're like, oh, I don't want to have that again. I know this doesn't serve me anymore. Once you've made that transition, and it's different. It takes time. It's not a 1 week turnaround. It's not a overnight type of thing for sure. So that being said, I should say too, if the reason is strong enough for someone, as it was in my story, which I
Mhm.
won't get into details here, or some other people, you can do cold turkey if the why is strong enough. Your reason for getting healthy, or for making any lifestyle change, if that's strong enough for you, then you can do it sort of cold turkey. Not saying it's not a struggle. You can do a cold turkey, but for the most part, small incremental changes along the way makes it, the chance for success just that much more.
Thank you, Deepak. That's incredible. That's going to help out a lot of people, because I'm sure there's a lot of people that can relate to that. That's all the questions that I have, but I know that you got a question or two as well.
Yeah. So what I'll just before I get into a question somebody reached out to me on earlier today
Mhm.
is if anyone, when they see, once this is posted and you have follow-up questions, or either Heather or Karen or anybody else for that matter, please put comments and I'll be happy to answer. Or I think my contact information will be again. Reach out to me. We can have a one-on-one conversation. No obligation, nothing like that. So I did get a question earlier, and I get this question quite a bit. People like, I mentioned about stay hydrated and all that. It's like, well, I don't want to have just water. Plain water is blah, yucky, or whatever. If squeezing a lemon or a lime in that is still blah, yucky. I don't want on that.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want something. So I would suggest, and we can talk about alcohol in a second here, but what about just a club soda? Excuse me. What about just club soda or tonic water with twist of lime or something like that, or a little splash of lime juice or something like that. So you get a little bit of that fizz, a little bit of fizz, a little bit of flavor, something that's not boring. Like a Pellegrino, or something like that. Maybe that could work. So you're not having just plain water. Keep in mind though, anything sort of bubbly, or it's carbonated, is could potentially add to any discomfort, right? That's gas in your stomach, has to be released one way or another. Could have that feeling of uncomfort or bloating, especially on top if you're going to be having some foods that aren't serving your needs. The combination could really make you feel ill. So I really personally, I like that's just me. I just like flat water, basically. But okay, now let's move on to alcohol. So there's certainly better choices from a health perspective, in my opinion. So first of all, let's all be clear: alcohol, ethanol is a poison into your body. Your body will want to get rid of it as fast as it can. But that being said, socialization, and sometimes we just want to partake, and there's a time and place, and again, it goes back to intention. So if you're going to have that, I would say the best choice from a least hit to your body, least insulin response to the alcohol is probably spirits. So your scotches. That's why I drink scotch. Your scotches, tequilas, vodkas, even rum, which is made from sugar cane. Actually, once it's processed and everything, actually there's like literally no sugar in it. So you have those either straight up or with water, or water's blah, have it with soda and a twist of lime, and so have a vodka soda with a lime or something like that. So if water's a real blah for you, you can have that. You're still partaking. You're still having a cocktail, but it's a little bit of a better choice as opposed to a beer or wine, or champagne, which is really high in sugar and carbonation. So that was a question. That's a question I get quite often, and we could certainly rabbit hole into alcohol further. But for the question that the person sent me was like, what do I do? I don't want to drink water. So there's a couple of options there. So.
That's cool. I have a tip for that question, actually. Because I was out years ago at a Christmas party, and I don't drink. and everybody's dressed up. They all want to do shots at this bar. And a friend of mine, she's like, oh, just get cranberry juice. So I had a little tiny shot of cranberry juice. And there was actually a few of us that just did the shot while everybody else did shots too. And it was so much fun. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, it had nothing to do with it was just the action and the environment.
Yeah, and sometimes you just want to partake and be part of that, or even like theoretically, I mean, if no one cares or whatever, you just like have a shot of like water.
Yeah, you could.
Whatever, right? If you just want to like cheers, or
exactly.
That type of thing. So, a lot of times people too, not I mean, juice is I've said this before. Juice is like mainlining sugar right into your bloodstream. But I mean, if alcohol's an issue or what have you, or the peer pressure, you're the DD actually, but maybe that doesn't fly in your circle. Then have a cranberry soda and it's like, oh, what are you drinking? Oh, vodka cran. Oh, okay. Just tell a little white lie and no one really cares. Most people aren't going to really bug you. And I think it's getting more and more acceptable nowadays anyway. From 20 years ago to now, it's probably a lot different. It's like, no, I'm not drinking, or I'm having a dry December, dry January, whatever the case may be. Like, people really aren't judgy anymore. I think social norms have changed. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is there anything else? Any other questions you had, or anything yourself, Julie? Any other questions?
Oh, that's awesome. I took a lot of notes. This is incredible. I just am so grateful and appreciative that you just dump so much value in these interviews. Thank you, Deepak. Is there anything else that you have come up that you'd like to add?
Well, kind of related. Maybe I'll have a couple things maybe to add to sort of this talk, but just related. And I think my contact information will be
absolutely
posted as well. But just the other day, I had a friend of mine who's a physiotherapist wrote a great article in our local paper about sort of just staying active in the winter, and some stretches and like kind of exercises if you're gonna or if you got to go out and do like heavy shoveling, snow shoveling. It's like, okay, well, warm up your shoulders and that kind of thing. I read it, I was like, this is like fantastic. I would write almost the exact same thing if I was going to write on this topic. So I said, hey, you want to be a guest poster? They're like, yeah, sure. So there's a new blog post on my website from this physiotherapist on that. So it's kind of ties into what we're talking about here. This sort of kind of around the season that we're in right now. So just want to mention that if that's also something people are maybe interested in. But I guess just back again, it just really goes all those strategies, all those little tips, the little hacks or what have you to sort of get around this holiday season. Really, it all just comes back to your mindset. It comes back to your intention. It's fine to have, whatever you want to have, but again, you don't have to go hog wild. You don't have to have one of everything. Choose that one thing that you really truly enjoy that's actually going to be worth it. I've Julie, you and me have talked before. Maybe in a previous one I might have said this, but there's certain foods that I loved when I was overweight and sick all the time. I still love those foods now, but I have them way less. But when I do, I know I make peace with myself, so to speak, that this is not serving me. I'm going to partake for whatever reason, whether it's family or convenience or what have you, with knowing that it might affect me tomorrow. I might have an upset stomach. I might have joint pain. I might not be able to, my fingers. I might not be able to, have full range of motion in my fingers. I have a bunch of things like my skin might break out, all those things. But I had that intention that I'm going to enjoy this one particular food, or in the case, like I mentioned earlier, I don't drink a lot, but when there's the right occasion, I will partake. I go in with the right mindset and full intention of what I'm getting myself into, and then just move on. Done. Get over it. For me, I jump in the sauna, do some exercise, and I'm over it, and I get back on sort of my normal type of thing. So again, the biggest thing, it's all about intention. Don't beat yourself up, people. I know this is a tough time of year. There's holiday stress, work stress. You're getting like December's a short month for most people at work, so you're trying to cram everything in and not have all things pile up into January, family, the weather, seasonal affective disorder. It's all compounds of everything in December. Don't beat yourself up. If you have a transgression, just start again tomorrow. It's all good. It's all good.
That's awesome. Deepak, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what can they do? I'm going to be posting, your information and stuff in the title and that, but please shout out, like, how can people reach out to you if they want some help or a consultation or whatever?
Yeah, so I mean, many ways. Anyway, just any way you can get a hold of me. Like, I mean, you go to my website, see what I'm all about. Some of my other posts that I put on my YouTube channel that Adam Athlete feed to my website. You can book, a call, no obligation call with me there. I think this will be posted on Facebook, so you can comment there, private message me on Facebook. I'm on, LinkedIn, what have you. So my emails and my numbers are out there, so if it's not hard to find. So if somebody wants to talk, again, no obligation, just have a quick chat or something about something you're struggling with. We can talk about and see if there's something more there, or maybe literally just a quick one-off question. So
cool, that's awesome. Well, Deepak, thank you so much for this. This was amazing. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate and gratitudes for having me. We I guess timely, sort of squeeze one in for your end here, and and I wish all of you out there who watch this video, a happy holiday season, happy New Year, and hopefully wishing you the best in 2020, and hopefully all your dreams come true. So
awesome, yes. And we got to finish off with the thing.
Oh yeah, okay, ready? Here we go.
Yeah. Right on. That's awesome.
All right, thanks, Julie.
Thanks, Deepak.